Hi there, my name is Colleen and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be a little different from anything I've ever posted to my channel before. I wanted to talk about a TV show called Normal People. I know I'm a little late to the game, but when the show came out roughly a year ago, I remember everyone seemed to be talking about it. I had heard so many good things about the show, I just never got around to watching it. But I finally did, and I really liked it. I felt like the story was beautifully told. I loved the actors who played the characters. Also, the cinematography was just beautiful. So after binging the show, I thought to myself, like any normal person, if Connell Waldron were a real person, I wonder what his website would look like. So I'll get into that later on in the video. But first, let's talk about the show. Normal People is the Hulu BBC adaptation of Sally Rooney's novel of the same name, and it follows the on-again, off-again romance between two teenagers named Connell Waldron and Marianne Sheridan. They're both from the same small town in Ireland, but they come from different socioeconomic backgrounds and end up going to the same university as well. If you're watching this video, then I'm just going to assume that you have seen Normal People before, but if you haven't, there will be spoilers, so definitely go watch the show first and then come back to this video. One quote that really resonated with me from the TV show is when Connell says, "I feel like I'm walking around trying on 100 different versions of myself." That was my attempt at an Irish accent, and I will never do it again. But anyway, I could relate to that scene because I sometimes feel like I'm trying on different styles, and I question whether or not I have a personal style because I don't really know where I fit into the landscape as a designer, as a creator. And so, that's something that I think I also struggle with from time to time is my identity as a creative. Another scene that I could relate to is when Connell gets cold called on by his professor in class and all he can manage to say is,
I just agree with what everyone was saying, so yeah.
You put yourself in a vulnerable situation and kind of open yourself up to the possibility of having other people disagree with your opinions. And I guess it's like that imposter syndrome of, I don't belong in this class, when you're around people who just seem so much smarter than you. It just brought back so many memories of my time in college, specifically in the Arts and Sciences honors program at my university, which they got rid of a couple of years after I graduated. And now I'm just like, what was the point of all of that? But basically every year you had to take a seminar as part of the requirement for the honors program. And every seminar took place in a really small classroom setting of maybe 12 to 14 students max. And I would have class maybe twice a week. Every other day I just got so nervous preparing for this class because participation was a huge part of the grade. So yeah, I remember when the professor would call on me, I would get so nervous and anxious that I would either freeze up in class or word vomit. There was no in between.
You never give an opinion about anything. Ever.
You just always know what you think. I'm not like that.
You must know what you feel, though.
No. I struggle with that, actually.
We know that Connell and Marianne mutually decide to go their separate ways. And what I found really beautiful about their relationship is that because they were there for each other throughout the highs and lows of such a formative time in their adulthood, they were able to mature and eventually become more complete versions of themselves, independent of one another. And they're able to make a big decision like this, even if it means that they have to let go of something good. I felt like the ending of the show was obviously bittersweet, but very much a realistic portrayal of two people who have grown together and reached an adult decision because it's what is best for both of them. Felt like the ending was truly a culmination of Marianne and Connell's growth as individuals. Now, there's that saying, you can't love others until you love yourself. I feel like Connell and Marianne's relationship is a testament to the opposite. I would argue that Connell and Marianne did not love themselves in the beginning, but they learned to over time. Not to say that there weren't any other people in their lives who played a part, but you can't deny the fact that Connell and Marianne both played a big role in each other's lives. In the show, we learned that Marianne grew up with an abusive father, and we see how that plays into the way she interacts with other people and specifically her romantic relationships. One thing that she struggles with is believing that she is deserving of love, which is why she doesn't have a lot of self-worth at the beginning of the show. And I feel like Connell really helps her come to this realization that she is deserving of love and that she doesn't have to go through so much pain because there are people in her life who really care about her. On the other hand, Connell also has his own slate of insecurities. I think that his deep sense of inadequacy manifests itself in how he's unable to display his affection for Marianne in public settings. He also has trouble fitting in at his university, specifically with Marianne's group of elitist friends. And I think being like a working class student is what holds him back from being able to feel as though he belongs at Trinity College. But I think that's where Marianne comes in and helps Connell, because she constantly reaffirms that Connell is a talented writer and that he is this intelligent person who totally belongs at Trinity. And I think she helps him find some confidence in his identity as a writer. So maybe sometimes you do need other people to learn to love yourself. I think it helps to love yourself in order to love other people better, but I don't think that those two things are necessarily mutually exclusive. But I don't know, my thoughts on that are constantly changing. For anyone who has a lot of life and relationship experience, feel free to let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So what happens after Connell and Marianne part ways? In my imagination, Connell went off to New York, he got settled, and he pursues his MFA in creative writing at, let's say, Columbia University. His work gets featured in major publications like The New Yorker and New York Times. Adjusting to a new city, let alone New York City, isn't easy, but I would like to think that Connell eventually finds his groove, meets his group of friends, and makes a lot of connections in his industry. Connell has also started a little side hustle. That's right, he's gotten into the dropshipping business, product niche jewelry. What type of jewelry, you may ask? I think we all know. Maybe he's not doing so well in the relationship department, but he's doing pretty well in his career. We don't know if Connell and Marianne ever end up getting back together in the interim, but we can only assume that Connell ain't going back to Dublin anytime soon. So let's get to the design part of this video, finally. So if Connell Waldron were a real person and he wanted to hire me to design his website, he was like, hey, I'm a writer / jewelry dropshipping entrepreneur / professor. So I've got a lot of things going on and I simply do not have time to make my own website. Can you help me? I would be like, of course, Connell, anything for you. But really, I would start off by asking him what are his goals for the website and what do you want it to do for you? And I would assume that his main goals are, 1, to get his book published. Now, a website alone isn't going to do that, but let's just assume that Connell is in talks with publishing companies and people are interested in his work. So we really want him to make a good impression on potential publishers so that he can get his book published. So that's one main goal of his website. The other is so that he can connect with his readers. He has a small but steadily growing following of people who are fans of his work. He's been published in major publications, as I mentioned at the beginning of this video, so he has a lot of work to show, and he wants to kind of create a hub for all of his work and an easy way for people to see what he's kind of up to and what he's all about. That brings me to another goal of his website, to update people on upcoming events that he has planned. So whether that's a workshop or a reading, he wants people to be able to catch up with what's going on in his life. So that is another important goal of his website. In terms of the tone and the style, from what we gather by watching Normal People, we know that Connell Waldron isn't necessarily the talkative type. He kind of keeps to himself, and he has this kind of like subdued nature. So that's the kind of style that I would want his website to reflect, which is why I ended up going with more minimal, neutral, muted tones, and I felt like it was a pretty fitting visual style for Connell Waldron. Okay, so that is the website design. I hope you enjoyed this video. If there are any other characters from a book or a movie or TV show that you would like me to design a website for, let me know in the comments. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this TV review / design exercise. I will see you in another video. Bye!